two different hats that I like to wear. The first one, Capital Pixel, is a small company that provides 3D renderings and animation, real estate photography, floor plans, really any sort of picture or image that will help tell a story about real estate. So a lot of times when I say 3D rendering, people's faces kind of go blank because they're like, what is that? You know, what actually is that you do? And I've been explaining it to my parents, I think, for 10 years now, and they still don't quite understand what I do. One way I like to describe it is kind of like Pixar, but for buildings or for real estate. So everyone's seen a Pixar movie, I'm sure. Those are 3D artists that are creating characters and environments and backgrounds and turning it into a movie. So everything you see is computer generated, it's made digitally, none of it exists. It's not like they walked out and filmed, you know, a real life set. So what I do is create imagery like this, using the same steps, the same tools. It's all computer generated, it doesn't exist in life yet. But the final product that I sell is really images like this that people can buy and then use it to tell their story. So sometimes that story is, you know, trying to pre-sell a condo or show your future gym members what their gym is going to look like before it's built. Sometimes it's just showing a historic board that's concerned about what a facade renovation is going to look like in their neighborhood or what a paint color is going to look like on the wall. So I do everything from really large scale sort of city planning type imagery all the way down to, you know, my next door neighbor is trying to renovate their backyard and they want to be able to give an image to a contractor and say, you know, this is what I want to do with my backyard. So I help create images that really tell people's story and tell, you know, what something is going to look like before it's built. Has anybody, this movie's probably 10 years old now, has anybody seen the movie 300? Anybody? Show of hands? Yeah. So there's some big scenes in that movie where there's these battles and there's thousands of people rushing the field and there's, you know, dust flying everywhere and spears and like it's complete chaos. So that whole scene is generated by computer. None of it was real. They didn't hire thousands of actors. They didn't, you know, none of that was done on like a Hollywood lot. It's all done in the computer. And so the software that I use is actually the exact same software that they use in Hollywood to create that scene. So just to kind of give you a little background. So my background is in architecture. I did my undergraduate in architecture. I worked for a firm in Silver Spring that does the same line of work. And I was with them for about 5 or 6 years, and I kind of just got to a point where there was nowhere to go up. It was a small company, there were about 20 people. There were the two owners, and I was kind of a project manager, so I was either going to wait until they retired or left, or kind of be stuck where I was. And I knew that I wanted to do more, and I knew that I felt, you know, good about my sort of level of expertise at that point after being there for 5 or 6 years. So I decided to go out on my own at that point when I realized that I was kind of at a dead end. And
did you have a lot of money saved up to do this?
No, I did not. Kind of like Dylan, I ended up with a fair bit of overlap. I think I was still there for another 9 months after I decided, okay, I'm going to do this on my own. I stayed there for another 9 months and was kind of, you know, working the day job there, and then at night I would come home and start doing work for myself then and trying to build up some clients that way. So there was definitely overlap, and I mean, you can attest it's not easy when you've got all these different things that you're trying to do and balance at the same time. But, you know, that did give me the chance to, over those 9 months, say, okay, I really got to put away 6 months of savings in case, you know, I have 6 months of just no work coming in. So there was an adjustment period there where I think I, you know, spent some time really looking hard at financials and, you know, what makes sense. It would have definitely been easier to quit the old job cold turkey, and then I definitely would have had some time where I said, okay, I'm open, you know, like where is the business going to come from? So I think it was wise in retrospect to kind of have some overlap there and some time to sort of get my feet underneath me and figure out what the actual next steps forward were. You know, I think the biggest thing that I like to tell people is, you know, find something that you love. You know, it doesn't have to be a job. Like my days go by so fast and I love what I'm doing, I usually tell people, think about what is it that you would be doing on a Saturday if you had no constraints. You know, what is it that you would spend your time doing? Is it, you know, getting your nails done? Is it being in your garden? Is it going on a pub crawl? You know, any of these things that you love, there's a way to turn that passion into a business. And obviously for you, it's working out and gym. So, you know, really think hard about what it is that motivates you and what sort of would get you out of bed in the morning on a weekend to go do and spend your time. And then the other thing I like to share is that, you know, I didn't obviously have the startup cost or the retail space. I had some initial costs for purchasing software and computers and, you know, general office equipment, things like that. But 9 years later, I'm still working out of my home. You know, I've set up a very dedicated office space. It's not like sitting at your dining room table or anything like that. So it, you know, when I'm in my office, even though I'm at home, I do feel like this is my space to get stuff done and to work. And I think that's an important part of sort of any startup is to, you know, dedicate yourself to, you know, a place you can go, whether that's in your own home or, you know, somewhere that you feel like you can put on a different hat and sort of focus what you're doing. Yeah, I mean, the passion is what drives everything at the end of the day, and especially, you know, if you're starting at this point, there's no point in pouring your heart and soul into something that doesn't, you know, excite you or get you out of bed in the morning, because, you know, you also just come off as more believable and more, it's easier to sell something when people look at your face and say, that person loves this job or loves this line of work. For 8 years, it was just me. I just hired my first full-time employee last fall, and she actually works out of her home as well. We do a lot of video conferencing to kind of, you know, when I need to give her a project or get up to speed. For a long time, I used a lot of contractors, so a lot of 1099s to, you know, hire people part-time or to have people, you know, when I would get really overloaded with a lot of work, I had folks that I could reach out to and help sort of on a as needed basis. But yeah, it was a decision that was sort of, you know, do I want to stay small as a single business owner, or do I want to grow? I think for a long time I felt the pressure that you have to start a business, then you have to grow, and you have to turn into the next Pixar. But for a lot of people, and for myself, like, I'm really content working by myself. Don't feel that you need to open the world's largest nail salon, like in the Mall of America. If you want to open like a 5-person small place, let it be that. So don't think that ambition has to be with like size and scale and revenue. You know, maybe you do want to actually franchise and be the next Orange Theory, and that's fine. But it doesn't have to be. You know, you can make it what you want. And I think a lot of that just comes from society, or, you know, when you tell your parents or your friends what you're doing, they probably say to you all the time, oh, you know, like, we're going to see your gym all over the U.S. soon. And, you know, don't feel like you need to necessarily fit the outside pressure. And for me, you know, I have 2 small kids. I am trying to actually, by hiring someone, I was trying to actually scale back on my work a little bit and told myself I'm okay with a little bit of a pay cut now that I'm going to be paying her salary, in hopes that I can actually spend some more time with them. So the great thing about small business ownership is that you tailor it to you. You know, if I like to grocery shop on Tuesdays when there's no one there and I don't have to fight the battles, so I can do that. And then maybe I put in some extra hours at night to kind of make up for that time loss.
So the young lady who you hired, did she have to purchase the software as well?
I actually purchased all of her stuff and supplied her with everything that she needs. So, you know, there have definitely been some costs associated with growing, but not on the sort of same scale as, you know, having a retail store. You know, like, as kids, we're all creative. We're born with creativity, and I think as we age and as we become adults, we just lose that. And you think, you know, I don't know how to express myself as much as a child might, or, you know, think about what were your passions when you were younger or when you were little. And sometimes those things sort of carry through to adult life and can sort of still be a part of what you do. When I first started out in the beginning too, I felt like I had to do everything. I'm very like control freak about a lot of stuff, so I'm like, I have to do my taxes, I have to do my own website, I have to create my own logo, I have to, like, no one can help me with anything. And it's taken me years to kind of let go of some of those things and pay somebody to do the thing that they know how to do. Find a good accountant, maybe not the first month while you're still getting started, but pay somebody to do that in a way more efficient manner than you're going to do it yourself. Because in the long run, you will save time and be able to focus on the thing that you do well instead of trying to learn to be a little bit of everything. There are people out there and there are resources all over the place that can help you put together a website for very little money. Do that as a startup, sort of get your feet underneath you, and then when you grow, then you can sort of pour in more resources, pour in more time where necessary, and kind of scale yourself up. But don't feel like you have to wear all the hats and understand the intricacies of tax laws for small businesses and all of that, because there are people out there that can help you. So I usually tell people one image takes me about 3 days to make. So, and part of that is back and forth communication with the client. Did I get the brick color right? Do you like the people that are in there? Are the plantings the right style? So some of that is communication. But I would say, a day of it is sort of the project management, getting the estimate together, getting all the stuff lined up, and I would say 2 days to kind of create the image. I have an hourly rate, $100 an hour is my rate, like flat across the board. So, something like that. You can do the math to figure out. There's all sorts of nuances that go into that, whether I'm creating something for, like I said, my neighbor, I might price it a little bit lower than, a big architectural firm. I'm going to sort of scale up to price for them. And yeah, there's a lot of other nuances, whether it's, 80 unit building or a 20 unit building, like the larger one's going to take me longer. So the last part of the story is that I kind of am transitioning this into a slightly more creative outlet, in that I spend all day making 3D models of buildings, and so I started making 3D models of jewelry, and then having those 3D printed in sterling silver and in stainless steel. So I'm kind of slowly trying to transition and build up a 3D printed jewelry business as well, and that's it's just been a creative outlet for me. So it's all to say, like, don't be surprised if you start down one path and you find that there's sort of another tangential thing that you like doing as well. One of the good things about small business is that you are the leader of sort of where you end up, and I never would have sat down and said, oh, I can design 3D jewelry. That wasn't even in my repertoire, but I kind of got there through the other things that I've done. And so I think it's important to remember that you might start with something and realize that there's another passion that is part of that, or that you can build off of that too. The mold is 3D printed, so there's a wax mold that is made, layer by layer with a 3D printer of wax, and then the metals are cast into that, and you melt the wax away. So once I've made a prototype for one piece, I can print that, infinite number of times for however many I need to generate. But it's there's a lot of time in the initial making of the model, but once the model is made, it's easy to just prototype from there. So I actually sent it to a shop. It's in New York. I'm hoping that DC or this area will get one soon. I have a small desktop printer that prints in plastics, but the metals are like a whole other cost level. And